Welcome to Uninterrupted, the podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity, where we dive into the world of technology, cybersecurity, and IT solutions. We help your business stay protected and ahead of the curve. Whether you're a business owner, IT professional, or just tech curious, this is your go-to source for staying informed and staying secure.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Uninterrupted. I'm your host, Chris Hammonds, and with me today is our COO, John Fausz. John, how are you?
Hey, pretty good, man.
Good. And as always, we're going to get right into it. So, John, the thing I want to talk about today is I hear it a lot, I see it a lot, everyone sees it. I'm just going to say it one word, tools, right? When with cybersecurity, there's all these different tools that you could have, and you know, when you have all these tools, there's just this mindset that, okay, I spent all this money on these tools, I should be 100% protected at this point, and not really the case, not whatsoever. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So John, let me ask you, as far as the things that you've seen, what is kind of typically the base that people use for further tooling for cybersecurity?
Yeah, so we've talked about this quite a few times. We see a lot of people that have a good firewall, some enterprise-grade firewall that's in the past stopped a lot of traffic from coming through. We see spam filtering. We see an EDR-style antivirus, something that's kind of looking for behavioral-based types things on all the endpoints. And we see sometimes either multi-factor authentication or user training, some stuff like that. But really, not a lot of modern approach to cybersecurity. It's really the things from about a decade ago.
Gotcha, okay. So if, let's say, I'm using all of those tools, and let's say I saw one online and was like, oh, this will do this, right. It'll stop X, Y, Z, you know, I should have some type of peace of mind, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thought, right? So we have an issue in our industry where the vendors really talk to you about like, hey, buy my tool and install it and you're going to be secure. And that's not really the case because it takes some kind of knowledge in order to know what you're actually doing, to look for what you're looking for. And it's not about just installing a bunch of stuff on the network and thinking it's going to do its job. There's a whole methodology, a whole list of a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of things that need to be thought about and gone over. And if you're not doing those base kind of practices, then it doesn't matter what tools you have because you're not going to realistically be able to look for the right things and stop the right things and detect the right things and then respond to that and recover from it in the end.
Gotcha. Okay, so if I were to, let's say I'm a chef, right? I'm this world-renowned chef. But, you know, I'm letting someone else use my kitchen. I have all the tools. I have everything set up for them to succeed. Does that mean anybody can just go in there and cook whatever I cook?
Right. So that's kind of one of the big issues is I deal with this. I've spent a lot of time learning how to cook. It's one of my passions. It took work. It was hard work over the course of years to be able to come up with the methodologies, the techniques, what to look for, what ingredients to use, and things like that. And when I think about cooking, we can break that down into what do you really need to cook? Well, you need to have some heat source normally. You need ingredients. You'll need some kind of general basic tools, like generally a knife, maybe a pan, something like that, some kind of device, spatula, tongs, things like that to mix with and pick things up with that are hot. And then what you really need on top of that, though, more than anything else is you need to have the information for how to do it. You need to have the practice. You need to have the reps under your fingers to know that, hey, this needs more of this. This is how I cut this thing. This is how I do this without hurting myself. This is how much heat is too much heat, how much heat's too little heat, how to make adjustments when things aren't going 100% right. You need to have that information to build upon in order to do that. So I can sit somebody down in my kitchen with all the appliances that I have or a top chef's kitchen, and they wouldn't be able to cook like them because they don't have the information to do it.
Gotcha.
Now, where we get into things that are interesting is KitchenAid loves to sell appliances. Their job is to sell appliances like stand mixers. And so I have a really nice KitchenAid stand mixer with a lot of attachments on it. I spend a lot of money for it. I really love it. It's a great appliance. I pull it out like 3 times a year.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you there. Yeah, mine, I think it came out one time during Christmas, and that was it. Great tool.
Great tool.
Great tool.
It's great tool for its job.
For its job.
But if you use that tool to try to cook a steak, it's not going to work very well for you, right? And so the tools have their place. The tools have the things that they're supposed to do. They need to be used in specific moments to do specific jobs, to do specific things. And it's the same with cybersecurity. An EDR antivirus is meant to do a specific thing, and it can't do other things well. What it can't do is it can't stop unwanted applications from being installed on your computer. It can try to block those if it knows what they are, but say the hackers realize that you're blocking a lot of really unknown bad applications from running. So what happens if you're a company that does not use TeamViewer and a threat actor tries to install TeamViewer on your computer? TeamViewer is a known good software. Can it be used for bad? 100%. And the bad guys use it for bad, but it's also used in a lot of legitimate business use cases. Well, if your business doesn't need TeamViewer to be on the PCs and somebody tries to install it on the PC, is that either an end user doing behavior that they shouldn't be doing, or is that a threat actor doing it? Well, the EDR antivirus software says, I don't care, TeamViewer is a good software, I'm going to let it through. It doesn't know that your organization doesn't want to have it. So in that case, you need a different tool to help you with that called application allow listing. Now you can do that with a tool or you can do it manually. Like it's very hard to do manually, but some companies have done it. It's part of a zero trust methodology of saying, hey, I don't know what's here, so I'm not going to let it run because I don't know what's here, but it's hard to get that to happen. Just like if you have a big sourdough that you want to mix up, you can do it by hand and do all the kneading by hand and all those sorts of things, but it's easier with your KitchenAid mixer. Gotcha. It's the right tool for the right job. And so you have to match the tool with the job, but just as if you can't throw in a bunch of ingredients into the KitchenAid mixer and say go and have it bake you a fantastic loaf of bread, there's methodologies behind it and there's reasons for things that have to do it, and you have to do sorts of things that way to make sure that you're doing the right thing and things that make sense. And we see a lot of companies that they buy the fancy stand mixer and they think it's going to do everything for them, and it's not the right tool for the right job, or sometimes it's the right tool being used incorrectly because they don't know what it's for, it's doing the wrong things, it's not looking at the correct things, and it takes a lot of information and a lot of technical expertise in order to get it to do what it's supposed to do.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a really good example. Now, let's say, because that kind of reminds me, I got at this Tiger Woods driver for golf, right?
Right, yeah.
And I went out there with such confidence, I thought I was at least going to put it on the green every time like he does, right? You know, I got this really good golf club, and my swing, I want to say it got worse. I want to say somehow I'm slicing it more and more, it got worse. So it's kind of the same thing with that too, right?
Well, see, it's never our fault. It's always the golf club's fault whenever
absolutely.
We're not hitting it correctly. So what we're really looking for in that scenario is it's kind of a weird thing because humans are mental creatures. There's a little bit of a bump that happens when you do get new clubs because you're excited about them. So you generally will play a little bit better because you're excited about them. You haven't got annoyed at them yet, but that wears off, right? And so you can either keep going and spending your money and buying new clubs over and over and over again, or you can work on getting some lessons and getting some practice and going to the range and actually putting in the work to make yourself physically better. That's really what pays off in the end. And so if your club face is always open and you're slicing through the path, you will slice it every single time, regardless of what driver gets put in your hand. And it really just takes you doing the work and getting better at golf. And we've seen it. We've seen, I have nice clubs. I can take my clubs and give them to people who have never played before, and they're not even able to do what I can do. And what I can do is a very small amount versus when I go play with my brother-in-law, who's a very good golfer. And so it's just, I'm not putting in as much work as he is, and it doesn't matter what clubs I have. They're not going to come up with a difference from putting in the work. And it's the same thing with cybersecurity. There's a lot of really, I like to call them the unsexy things of cybersecurity. There's a lot of work that no tool will ever solve for you, and it's about knowing what you have on your network, knowing, are all the user accounts correct? Does everybody have the permissions that they need to have? Does somebody have permissions to a folder that they shouldn't have access to? Is everything licensed correctly? Are we paying for licensings that we're not even using anymore? That just takes work to do. There's tools that help us analyze the network and see what's there so that we know what we have to look for. But at the end of the day, we sit down and we work with the end customer and say, hey, what do you have here? Is this still in use? Should this person have access to this? I don't know, because I don't know what these end people's roles are. So there's always work that's going to have to go on between your cybersecurity provider and your business leadership in order to make sure that things are set up correctly. But there's a lot of that tooling's fun. Tooling can do a lot for us, but it doesn't substitute work. And it can help with the work, but only if we know what work needs to be done. And then when we look at bringing on a new tool here at Fausz, we have a pretty intense methodology for doing so. So we look at the people, process, and then tooling, right? So what are the people that would be doing this work? What is the process for what we're trying to do, and what's the end goal for what we're trying to achieve? How do we make that happen? And then is there a tool that we either have already that can make our lives easier for doing this thing, or is there a tool that we can acquire that then would offset the amount of work that it would take? We've gone down the rabbit hole in the past of buying a tool to do something because it's like, man, we really want to do that and it looks great, where we've bought the tool, we've got the shiny new thing, and either we didn't use it because we just couldn't get it implemented and do what we needed to do, which is a huge thing in the cyber industry of just buying tooling and it sits there dormant and does nothing. Or some cases we found out that the manual process we were trying to replace was cheaper for us just to make a standard operating procedure and have somebody do it than it was to pay for the licensing for the tooling. And so if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, if you're not looking at that sort of thing, you can really go down a rabbit hole of spending a lot of money on stuff that does nothing, and it just sits on your shelf forever, and you never still accomplish the goal of what you were trying to do. But you had this tool that made you feel safe and made you feel good about, hey, I'm going to go do this eventually, and then you never get around to doing it. And so did you benefit? No, not really.
I mean, you could be losing, all the money you spend on those tools, not to mention. So when it comes to the cybersecurity myth of having more tools will make me more secure, that's just definitely not even true.
Yeah, you need the right tools, and you need the right ideas and the right methodologies behind them. And just like a chef that needs to do all these sorts of things, yes, you can cook a meal to get sustenance, but are you really going to cook something that's great, that tastes great, that has the right saucing, is seasoned perfectly, it has the right salt, fat, acid, heat, all the things that are needed to make a really, really memorable dish? You need to be doing the right things at the right time, in the right orders, with the right methodologies, and the right training and technique and years of experience to do that. And that's where, when we do that from a cybersecurity perspective, we really help companies make this easier on them, shortcut it so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They get the outcomes that they're looking to get without having to build up all this immense knowledge and all this immense things by themselves, because it's really daunting. I can tell you we have installed and removed a lot of tools. We have a very vigorous tool testing process here. We're always looking for best of breed. We'll do this across multiple of our vendors. I can't tell you how many cyber awareness training platforms I've been through, how many EDR antivirus platforms I've gone through, how many security operations centers that are for the same EDR antivirus that are just giving us better reporting of what's actually going on through the network. They're able to detect bad things better and not detect a bunch of false positives. What's a security operations center? It's a team of humans that goes and analyzes the logs after they come through and look for the stuff that's questionable. So much they're using AI, they're using machine learning to help parse those logs down because there's millions of them. But at the end of the day, somebody has to make a judgment call, and that can't 100% yet be done with tooling and AI. So humans make a judgment call. They talk to end users and find out what's going on. We have to do that. We notice this nefarious behavior, potential nefarious behavior happening. Is that you doing something that your business needs? Oh yeah, that was me doing that. Or no, that wasn't. Well, that's not a tooling thing. That's a process and procedure. What's your process when you get an alert? How do you do these things? That's a lot to build up from the ground up, and we really help companies do that.
Gotcha. So in other words, I'll be returning my golf clubs and cashing them in for a trainer because golf clubs aren't getting me anywhere. So John, there's some really good points you brought up there, and we're going to dive into this a little bit deeper in our next episode, so make sure you're staying tuned. Other than that, John, thanks for your time.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, everybody, and have a good time.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Uninterrupted, a podcast from Fausz Cybersecurity. We hope you walked away with practical insights to protect your business and stay ahead of the latest cyber threats. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. For more tips, resources, and cybersecurity updates, visit Forbis, that's 4bis.com, and follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay vigilant and stay uninterrupted.